Welcome to Week in Horror.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
The podcast that deep dives all the films you love.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
The week they dropped in horror history.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
With your horror hosts, JL.
When a shirtless Sam Elliott with no mustache takes out an alligator with an oar, that's the kind of movie I'm looking for.
Eugene.
And we're just casually just like, yeah, so this is probably the best way to go, light someone on fire with gasoline.
Alex.
It would not be an original lineup if I didn't have fucking technical difficulty.
Johnny O.
Now, it's not an Amityville, or wherever it's Amityville.
And Aaron.
They got manure to work with and nothing grew from it.
News, trailers, trivia, special guests, and more.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Live show every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central at youtube.com/weekinhorror.
Welcome to prime time, bitch!
And wherever you listen to podcasts.
One by one, we will take you.
Week in Horror. Stay scared.
Welcome, horror fans. It's Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time, and that means it's time for another episode of the Week in Horror podcast, the only podcast that hasn't killed Danny Trejo yet. And if you
just give it time,
just fuck. And if you, dear horror fanatic, are listening to us at the top of the week, remember we do this live every Wednesday night right here on YouTube, so you can come hang out, see all of the stuff our editor, namely Angela, doesn't want you to see. This week we're covering select horror films released February 26th through March 4th. Thank you so much, all. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm Johnny O, also known as some fat guy. With me, JL and Eugene.
How's it going?
What's up, everybody?
She's in the house dropping bombs.
Watch out. Yes, she is. I see her. So this was a really, really good week. I have to say, and I'm
no. There was one good movie this week, is what you mentioned.
No.
One and a half.
Well, first,
I'd go with 1.5.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll accept 1.5. I'll definitely two stinkers. Absolutely two stinkers.
Yeah.
But I will say I'm excited because one of the movies we're going to talk about, I'm really excited to talk about, and it's a good thing because I'm so bummed right now. I ordered I recently ordered a bunch of like horror themed T-shirts because I constantly have to add to my horror T-shirt collection, and this one I found that was really, really super cool was this Hefe shirt from Evil Dead. And it's like, it was just really cool as design. It says El Jefe across the chest and everything. I was like, this is a badass shirt. I have to have it. I got it and I washed it. And now it shrunk.
Sizes.
It shrunk. And I washed it on cold. I washed it on cold and thought I took care of it. But it just, I guess it just went, now it's like one size too small. And I was like, and I was going to wear it tonight and I put it on. I was like, this ain't gonna fly. This ain't gonna fly. Well, my arms are kind of like, I was like,
Hey, maybe it'll work for you. I'm just saying,
So
that's
I was bummed, but we have good stuff to talk about tonight. Excellent stuff. It's nice to have castmates again after doing the solo show last week. Solo shows always wipe me the fuck out.
Because you have to do all the talking.
There's a lot of energy.
As opposed to 90% of the talking.
They're exhausting, but they're fun because you keep going, you get into that rhythm, and so I recommend one of y'all try it sometime. Run the show solo and just keep the energy up there, man, because it's a challenge. It's a challenge as a streamer, as a kind of a content creator.
No, not gonna.
It's all you, boss. All right. Well, before we dive into stuff now, because I know that Eugene, we do have something what we want to chat about. It's something we want to show y'all before we dive into the films tonight. But let's see who's in the live chat. We've got Doctor Who Design is here. Good to see you, Travis Brown as well. Thank you so much for being here. NA as well. A bunch of our amazing patrons are looking for a week off. All my week offs have all been like emergency scenarios. Like I'm stuck somewhere and I'm far away from my computer and I can't be here.
Well, to be fair, you did have that week off where you drove out and hung out with people in
That's
Kentucky
true.
as
I was
well.
out of town.
Yeah.
And there was 1 week off where I had food poisoning and I was sick. So I did have to take it was bad cranberry juice. So we found out it was bad it was bad cranberry juice, and then because Angela got sick too. So Angela got sick, and I got hallucinatory ill. So it was really, really.
That's not bad cranberry juice. That's mushrooms.
Somebody spiked the cranberry juice with psilocybin.
You were drinking ayahuasca, okay?
But I see a bunch of our amazing patrons are here in the chat. Elizabeth Sylvester is here. Good to see you, Elizabeth. Thanks so much for being here. And I see Travis Brown says, "Good evening, horror freaks who survived the watching of Skinamarink." And we're going to talk about that because Elizabeth Sylvester says it was the worst. I would rather be crucified to death than go through that again. So
Did you
don't worry.
screen that? I missed it, didn't you?
We did. Yeah,
damn it.
Yeah.
And I put like I put announcements up there like way in advance.
Yeah, I saw what you did. I meant to get on there and watch it, but I don't know what that was a Saturday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Saturday.
we were filming
That's
Saturday.
why.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, and it was Saturday night, and of course Sunday nights are reserved for the Week in Horror Vault Sunday Monster Vault, which is run by Rodent No Less Name, one of our amazing supporters. And I think this week he's showing Flash Gordon, the Wolfman, start with Lon Chaney Jr. and so he has Flash Gordon and the Wolfman, the original Wolfman from 41. So we have some cool stuff coming up on the weekend here. But yeah, we watched Skinamarink, and we're gonna talk here just shortly. I see Rodent No Less Name is there. Good to see you, bud. Gavlar, the Hand of Zod, is amazing. Hanging out with us. Hey, you guys. Good to see you, bud. See, Casey Cooper's here. Says, well met, Ghosts and Ghouls. Good to see our Ghosts and Ghouls, I think is what he means. Good to see you, Casey.
I like it, Ghosts and Ghouls. It gives it
Ghosts and Ghouls.
Yeah, it makes it sound more highbrow.
Sarcasm is here. Says, hello, everybody. Good to see you, Sarcasm. Travis Brown says, Johnny is probably thinking of ways to BS jail on Skinamarink. I don't know about that. There's a lot of aspects to Skinamarink that Johnny will like, given what he digs about horror films, what he looks for. There's a bunch of stuff that's really, really cool. So he's going to have to watch it.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it. That's on Hulu, right?
I think Shudder.
I think Shudder. He's Shudder, yeah. Let's see. Mystique Tina Jones here says, peekaboo, everyone. Good to see you, Mystique. Thanks so much for hanging out. Brian Powell as well says, good evening, everyone. Good to see you, Brian. Thanks for being here. Daryl M., good morning to you, sir. And Shiz, good to see you. Says, oh, I love to see all the Playboys laughing. Good to see you, Shiz. And Joshua Lee as well says, hey, other people, good to see you, Joshua Lee, another one of our amazing supporters. Let me see. And I think, oh, no. Oh, wait. Or is that shit polish? Oh, Brian Valzo, is that shit polish already? No, there is no shit polish tonight. The two films that we're going to talk about it's not possible.
Two of the terrible ones, the really terrible ones. Now there's one. Okay, you can argue that one of the four is going to be a turd polisher, and we'll get there.
Yeah. Let's see here. Angel Rivera, good to see you as hanging out. Says, what up, everybody? Let the bloodletting begin. Absolutely. Jason Hyatt as well. Good to see you, bud. Thanks for hanging out. I see Aaron is holding down the chat. Thank you so much, Aaron. We do appreciate it. He says Shudder and AMC Plus. Absolutely. I got it off of Amazon because I have a Shudder account. And Nemo813 is here. Good to see you, Nemo. All right. So many amazing people in the chat. And I want to... Oh, Cindy Johnson. I almost missed Cindy. Good evening, Cindy. Thanks so much for being here. We do appreciate it. Make sure. Oh gosh, if Heckfire, good to see you. Says, yo, what's up? Is it Wednesday already? Absolutely, it is Wednesday.
It's Woden's Day.
Woden's Day, yes.
Woden's Day.
Absolutely. All right, looking good. So, a bunch of amazing people here in the chat. All right, so yes. So the topic before we dive into this, and Eugene messaged me about this. It was like we got to chat about this. Is Skinamarink. Okay. So there's two films that are being talked about right now. It's Skinamarink and the new Winnie the Pooh slasher film, which is also apparently very, very polarizing as well. But here it's about Skinamarink. Because Skinamarink, now, Eugene, break it down.
So the reason I wanted to talk about it, because I read a really interesting article, and it has a possibility of being something like the next Paranormal Activity, because Skinamarink was shot for $15,000 total. That was it. And the guy who directed it basically just shot his family in his house, like like it's his kid. And,
filmed his family.
Filmed his family. Not shot. Let's clarify.
No. This is Skinamarink, not Amityville Horror. So
yeah. This is so he basically he shot the film in his house. He used his family. And like I said, for 15 grand, did it all on his own, and it has already made $2 million in streaming and box office sales. And not to mention, if you get a chance to watch, so I was like, well, let me go and like watch the trailer because I'm curious about it. And I watched the trailer, and that's a brilliant trailer.
Speaking of which, we have the trailer.
Yes.
So for those of us in the live chat who were not available to check out the screening that we did last Saturday, we brought in the trailer so that y'all can see it. And so please enjoy the trailer for Skinamarink.
In this house. In this house. In this house. In this house. In this house.
Uh-oh.
It was upside down, so I don't think they're going to catch it.
I don't know. The mouse is pretty good.
So and hey, Facty, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. And Facty says, I'm scared. Yeah. So this was a very Elizabeth Sylvester, all thumbs down, like 4 thumbs down. Seriously. So the interesting story behind this one is that the creator, Kyle Edward Ball, who wrote it, directed it, produced it, it produced it with Dylan Pierce, and shot it cheaply. It was like less than $15,000. So far, it's grossed just over $2 million. The idea began when he began his YouTube channel. So he was doing a YouTube channel where he was soliciting nightmares from like people's nightmares in the comment section of his videos. So he'd be like, tell me your nightmares. Then he would recreate them in video, in like visual format for his channel. So he was basically doing just videos of people's nightmares. From that stemmed his own idea where he had his own recurring nightmare as a child when he would wake up and his parents were gone. So he decided to do a proof of concept that he released called, I think it was called Heck. And so he released a proof of concept, and based on that, he was able to turn that into a feature length. And he shot this one for $15,000. And it is definitely experimental, in a sense, an experimental horror film. It definitely, I would say, I equate this kind of like horror ASMR, to be honest.
I can kind of see that. It definitely plays a lot more on the audio aspect, which the thing is, audio is like 60-70% of film anyway.
Right.
And so, I mean, you can scare your audience on something pure audio. And I like the fact that
Kubrick did that often with the uncomfortable silences.
Right.
That was one of his biggest go-tos. It's one of the reasons why 2001 Space Odyssey is so terrifying, is because of the uncomfortable silences, because that, he said, I don't want to use any soundtrack, no music other than what's in the very beginning, the Beethoven piece. That's it. Outside of that,
it's that tension without release.
Yes, exactly.
And plus on top of that, I like how leaning into like the 1970s style. So
Yeah.
if you let's say
Big
you don't,
grindhouse.
yeah, the grindhouse. So let's say you don't necessarily have a really good camera and access to a lot of lights. We can kind of make it grainy, kind of make it that 70s feel, and then you just lean into it. So
Yeah.
now it becomes a
Got that, like,
stylistic
there's
choice.
that 16 millimeter look.
Yeah.
That was and I thought it was just brilliant. And the thing that got me on it, obviously the audio is really where the horror is in this one. The audio, the way it played, I'm not 100% sure how he was able to pull it off. I know it's basic editing in that sense, but it gives the sense that you're in a you're isolated in a very, very large space. And so the way he played with the fact this is a very large house, there's an upstairs, there's a downstairs, there's a basement, and the way especially you have to, if you watch it online, you got to watch it with headphones. That's the absolute best way to watch this film. Or if you got a chance to see it in theaters, watch it with that big surround sound. So you need that full effect because the voice, so it's not coming straight at your face. It's coming from where it's supposed to be coming from in the house. He makes beautiful use of that. Not to mention lighting, shadow is wonderfully done. So you get just enough to get the sense that something is happening or something is nearby, but without that release that you need. And it just keeps building and building and building. And it's about midway through Act 2 where things really start to ramp up in that kind of and also kind of a claustrophobic sense. But I thought it was so well constructed from a technical perspective and so easily just shows what you can do on a limited budget. As long as if you have the vision and like this is what I want to show, and how still imagery in and of itself can be terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the thing is putting the cues together, and I think Road No Last Name phrased it like right. It wasn't so much as scary as it's so unsettling. It's uncomfortable,
right?
And that's that selling point. It has a very avant-garde feel, so it's just this kind of this tension and just basically this abstract imagery that's hitting you, and your brain is trying to process it.
Definitely. I see a lot of inspiration from like Johnny brought up, a lot of inspiration from Kubrick. I saw a lot of inspiration from Spielberg, a lot of inspiration. It was definitely from James Wan. So there's a bunch of really smart stuff that's utilized in here. Great artists utilize what works, but they make it their own. And he really did this. I thought, as far I've seen a lot of experimental horror, this is by far one of the best I've ever seen. My question is this: so you've watched it, Eugene?
So no, I have not.
You haven't watched it. Okay,
I have not watched it.
When we talked about this in the Discord, is that I very much get the sense, and I haven't had a chance to sit down and really dive into it. And I've seen it one time, but I'm going to watch it again, probably 2 or 3 more times, because I get the very real sense that there is something a lot deeper in this. From what you see in the images, I get the sense that there are details in there that provide more insight into the story. Like, for example, in the trailer we just watched, at the very, very end, the code, like it says, releasing 1973, and then it jumps and says 2023. It's like, why? I get the style. Does it allude to more? Does it not? And then you look at the cartoons that are played throughout, and then so on and so forth. I think there's more there. I think it is rich and it's deep and it's hidden. You have to really look for it. I think it is. I just get the sensation that there is. So I think it's definitely worth multiple viewings in that respect. But this is a super polarizing fucking movie because you see in our live chat, a bunch of people really fucking hated it.
And it's usually something like that requires multiple viewings. When you look at, say, a film like Donnie Darko, that the first time you watch it, you're kind of be like, what? But it makes you go and watch it again, and after 2 or 3 times, start noticing different things, and they kind of every time you watch it, it's adding a little piece of the puzzle.
Right. Gavlar brings up an excellent point. Says watching the trailer made me feel like watching the video from The Ring, and definitely Gus Van. What was it? What is his name? Directed the American remake of The Ring. I almost said Gus Van Sant, but it's not. His name starts with a G. Shit. Oh, that's good.
I thought it started with a T. No, I'm thinking of The Grudge. Mikey.
Gore Verbinski. So Gore Verbinski directed the American remake of The Ring. And so when you watch the tape, So that was the most unsettling part of the part of that movie is watching the tape. Like what is on the tape? So Naomi Watts puts the tape in, and it's like that combination of images with some that are static, some that have action going on in them, some of them are frenetic, and then it's just like this combination of images that is freaky and psychologically unsettling. And this feels very much like that. They're kind of like you're watching this, and then as soon as the credits roll, or technically there's no credits at the end of this or at the beginning, just like in the 70s. But as soon as the movie's over, you're expecting a phone call. So
I'll tell you, I remember going on the website when that movie came out. If you keep in mind, this is what, like 99, 2000, 2001, something like that. And I was like, oh, go check out the website. And you go to the website and it has this links and everything. And then you click on it. And no matter what you click on, it plays the video. It'll go to full screen and play the video. And it started to play the video. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And then it cuts to the well. And you're like, you're trying to pause it. You can't stop it. And I turned the monitor off.
Nice.
Oh, you big baby.
Better safe than sorry.
Better safe. I'm still here.
Me too. And I didn't do any of that shit.
Well, we're we're most likely going to do another showing of the of Skinamarink in the Discord because it's one that I think deserves repeat viewings. I'm definitely going to watch it myself. You are correct, NA. Sometimes I do love to polish turds. I do. So I do love to find the good points in movies, but sometimes we come across a movie, there are no good points. We have one of them tonight.
We have two of those tonight.
We have two of them tonight. Well, I don't know. There's one or two good points in the last one.
You're already trying to polish that fucker. Don't. There's no polishing the two turds that we have here. But before we get to the two turds, I mean, I really want to talk about this first movie. So Eugene, let's kick this pig.
All right, let's do this. So up first, we have The Vigil, which was released February 26, 2021. Roll it.
I'm so excited to talk about it. It's PG-13. So wild.
בעלמא דברה כראותי, וימליך מלכותי, ויצמח פורקני, ויקרב משיחי.
I'm extremely sorry for your loss.
You have to leave now.
בחייכון וביומייכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן.
Nice. Yeah, leave. Just go.
I'm out.
Go. I'm out.
Listen, have the body.
just go.
This is Litvak. There is something very, very wrong here. We have to go now.
It won't let you leave.
Mrs. Litvak, what won't let me leave?
The magic will make you see terrible things.
בעלמא דברה כראותי, וימליך מלכותי, ויצמח פורקני, ויקרב משיחי. בחייכון וביומייכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן.
The magic will find another broken person. It will never behind you.
Burn the house, move to a different country.
Yeah, out. Just completely just bounce.
Yeah.
Burn the house down.
It's like
Nuke it from orbit is the only way to be sure.
I was sitting there watching this thing. I was like watching it, and then the minute he sitting in that chair, like, and I understand it when you understand the ritual, like it's beautifully, depicted. It's exactly the way it's supposed to be. But when that dim light, I was like, nope. No.
JL, you're the kind of person that shit yourself during a fucking lightning storm. Come on now. All right, Eugene, give us the particulars.
All right. It was directed by Keith Thomas, stars Dave Davis, Moshe Lustig, Malky Goldman, Fred Milland, and Lynn Cohen. And basically what it is about is they invite this man over to perform the last ritual for somebody who's recently deceased to ward off spirits. And trust me, shit gets fucking real.
Rodinella Dave says, when the old lady says terrible things, run.
All day, every day.
Yes. And sarcasm. I'm famous for saying that Catholics make the best horror movies. Turns out Hasidic Jews, not so bad. Absolutely not. I didn't know much about this going into it. I knew that it was a Jewish-centric horror film. So going in, I didn't read anything about it. I was anticipating something about like, Dybbuk's, because the Dybbuk box is classically used by Hollywood to do Jewish horror. But this was a new one, and wow, a beautifully rendered, top-notch subversive horror film that has both the sense of real, dread that builds throughout the entire film, as well as just this poignancy to it that drives people, that literally just pulls you into it, as far as its characterizations, the individuals that are in it, utilizing elements that we're all familiar with in real life, and then drawing it into this final conflict towards the end. I thought, and it was honestly told. It was just such a gorgeous fucking movie that blew my mind, and I could see why review said best horror film of 2021.
I want to talk about the cinematography for a minute, because this is so. Watching this after hearing what you told me about it, JL, going back and watching this thing, I watched it twice. I noticed, first off, this is a great use of negative space, an excellent use of shadow, of darkness, of lighting just what needs to be lit, because that atmosphere totally pulls you in. You can tell, like, whenever he shows up, the main protagonist shows up to the house, after everybody leaves, it gets real dark real fast. Every scene where, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, but every scene where he is being watched by the demon, there are two lights on. Every single scene. There's either two lights, two direct lights, or two little reflections. Eyeballs are watching him the whole time. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but go back and watch it. I had to watch it twice, because at first I was like, this is weird. And then, you see it. Boom. It happens every time he's being watched. Now, the time he's confronting the demon, not so much. But when he's running from it, where he's sitting in the vigil, when he's actually sitting for the vigil, you'll notice the camera angles where you see two lights. It's either two reflections or the actual two light bulbs. And it's throughout the entire film. Once the vigil starts until the vigil is over, those two lights or two eyes are watching him the whole time. It's an excellent device. And again, I had to watch it twice to make sure that's what was happening, but it's clear that's what the cinematographer was going for.
Yeah, because it has to be on purpose.
Yes.
It has to be a conscious decision.
I thought it was great.
That's what got me, and that may have been. Now, I didn't pick up on that, because I was so kind of enraptured with just the atmosphere and what was going on. But a lot of really, really good things, oftentimes you pick up. I will say you pick up subconsciously, which may lead to what that kind of encroaching dread that builds so quickly.
Exactly.
Once his friend leaves the apartment and drops him off, and he stays, and Mrs. Letback goes up to her bedroom, and so he's sitting in there with the body. And then you get this, all of a sudden, it's like this kind of like overwhelming presence, this kind of thickness that's just there, and just slowly but steadily is increasing over time as the shots are moving through the house, and he's sitting there trying to do his thing. And then all of a sudden, it's kind of like that may have led into that, where you get the sense that you have that kind of effect.
So the thing that I was getting is that every decision that went into sound design, went into the cinematography, was done. You could tell was very meticulously crafted, because he wanted to build that sense of dread.
Right.
The lack of a soundtrack, only using certain pieces of a soundtrack at certain times, and making that where it breaks up every now and again, which reinforces like the cracking of the bones of the main character, or of the person who he's performing the vigil for. Everything was done with a purpose, and it was just, you could tell the planning of this film was very meticulous. They took their time with it, and they brought it all together very well. Like I said, the color design, even after the demon is dealt with, we'll say, because I know there's a 5-year moratorium, but like whenever the danger is apparently gone, everything lightens up. Sun comes out. We start to see more of the house. We start to see more of it's done. This is a masterclass of how to plan and execute the design, not the whole production design of your movie.
That was everything you're mentioning there is like that's one thing that got me. Lends itself to being immersive horror, to immersing the audience into the story that's taking place. Every single area of the house that he goes into the house has its own specific lighting and the way things are conveyed.
Yeah.
So the living room in and of itself is its own kind of world. The kitchen was its own kind of world. The basement was definitely its own world, utilizing the dim kind of soft lighting in the living room to the harsh, almost sterile fluorescent lighting in the kitchen, but they're still very small because you're not allowed to have all these lights burning during the shomer. So there has to be enough light so you can move around. You can't be in pitch black. So you have a bit, but it's all minimalized. But that's what's wild. That's what got me. It's like you're in this old couple's house. They've lived in the house for like 50 years. And so you think of old people's homes, how there's memories all over the place, things they built up. But even that, you're in this old person's house, but it almost feels minimalistic in that sense because you can't see anything. You know there's stuff all over the place. You know that traipsing through this place at full speed is treacherous because you could trip over stuff and you could knock stuff over. So everything is slow moving. You're forced into this kind of like slow plodding pace just by virtue of the environment that you're in, whether it's the living room or the kitchen. And then when he goes down into the basement, then you get that kind of tunnel effect where there's the one singular TV light or screen monitor light and fluorescent light and natural lighting from the big, bay windows in the morning. Everything is so brilliant. It lends itself to different atmospheres wherever he is in the house. And then how they utilized the actors who played Mrs. Litvak, how they lit her and her character, how they shot her, what thought was brilliant in that respect. And I loved it. Didn't rely on jump. It could have easily relied on jump scares. Doesn't do it.
The beauty part about this, you have 2 jump scares in the whole thing. The whole movie has 2 jump scares, and they are fucking earned.
Mm-hmm. That one in the basement the one in the basement got me. That one got me because because this is what's wild is you're watching that screen and he notices she's mouthing something in the background, and they're like, and I saw her and I was like, and in my head I'm like, I think she said, did she? But then it plays it, and he's getting closer and closer till eventually it's right. It was like, oh damn, everything is so well constructed in this. And the real thing I got now, I noticed that Sarcasm, I thought the ending was telegraphed and contrived. Aside from that, everything worked. Sound, lighting, atmosphere, tension, just great. It was phenomenally done. I loved the ending on this because this is a movie that easily could have dropped the ball in the third act. And I don't want to spoil anything because we do have the 5-year moratorium, but the way it ended for me, I thought was beautifully honest because our protagonist is we can easily identify he is a man haunted by traumas from his past. He has recently left the Hasidic community because of that trauma. He's currently going through therapy for it, and the only reason he took the Shomer position that night was because he desperately needs the money. So he's getting paid $400 to sit with this body for 5 hours.
I gotta say, not enough money.
Not enough.
Not enough.
We're gonna have to quadruple this shit. Okay.
So we identify with the trauma that occurs to him, and I don't want to spoil that either. But that trauma follows through and infects everything that he does. It infects his social relationships. It affects his interactions with members of the community, and the fact that he's there, he feels like an outsider, yet he's still connected to that community that he desperately wants to run from, which is the weakness that the Mazik attaches to. And there's a lot of fantastic, details that are put in here. I don't want to spoil when people do experience it, but the way it ended, I thought was beautiful, honest, and it didn't betray the primary character. What I don't like, what I hate, is a betrayal of your protagonist.
Right.
For example,
M. Night Shyamalan this shit.
Right.
Yeah.
And like for example, Breakfast Club, and I know it's totally out of left field, but the betrayal of some characters that where all of a sudden they change to what other people would prefer. Is
Right.
like that conformist notion. That was like Ali Sheedy's character in that was a complete and total betrayal of that character, and it really pissed me off. I hate it when movies betray their character. When the character goes through the trauma and comes out, change the way other people think they should be.
Right.
But no, he comes through changed because he can deal with his trauma and approach the world. His position on it hasn't changed. That's understood. But no, he's more whole now and more honest. And I loved that it didn't betray him. Such a beautifully written narratively. This is how you write fucking characters. This is how you write. This is from the writing to the technical aspects to the acting, all of it brilliant. I thought it was fantastic.
So I hear that a lot when people are like, oh, well, endings are telegraphs or indies. Listen, there's only I think 20 original story ideas.
Seven. There are seven original story ideas.
Original story ideas. Yeah. Like when you watch a film, it's about the journey. Because if you take, say, rom-coms, for example, you know that the guy and the girl are going to get together in the end. You already know that. Just going into it before you even press play, it's how they get there. You know that, okay, something's going to happen with the killer or the final girl survives in this particular film. You already know that. So when it comes to things like, oh, well, the ending was telegraphed, most of them, honestly, if you sit there and watch most of the movies that you watch, you're going to know the ending well ahead of time anyway. Yeah. It's just how do you get there, and is that ending executed well?
That's why it kind of surprised
me. Do they earn it, or do they shoehorn that ending in? Right. I think this movie earns the ending, even though we know what's going to happen. At least we have a fairly good idea what's going to happen based on other movies we've seen in this genre. Do they earn it? And he absolutely earns this ending. And it's a little different than most people would think because of the decisions that the protagonist makes. We'll just leave it at that because
because I definitely don't want to spoil it.
I just love the idea that trauma persists and it is something that must be dealt with, but will always be there.
Right.
And that trauma changes us, and we can compartmentalize and we can reconcile it and we can deal with it, but we will forever be changed by that trauma. It's in the in the journey of how we do that. So the film is as much a supernatural horror film as it is about reconciling the past things that have harmed us and how we can never really ever go back, but we can move forward from that.
Right.
And I love that because, and especially given, make sure if you watch this film, stay to the end. You have to stay to the end because at the very, very end before the credits roll is very, very important. So just give you that little clue right there. You've got to stay until the end because that is where the signifier, the whole theme of it comes into play right in the last 15 seconds.
I got to say that the thing that really impressed me the most about this film is there's not one wasted minute, not one.
Agreed.
There's nothing that you can be like, yeah, we could do without this part. This will be good. No, everything about this movie is in there for a reason. So,
right.
Like I said, a lot of people are, movie Johnny doesn't hate. It happens. It happens.
I say that a lot.
The thing is, they're good movies. And another thing I want to point out is, if you watch this movie,
no, fuck that. When you watch
this movie, be in a situation where you can focus on the movie. Don't be on your phone. Don't be doing dishes. Don't have it in the background, or you're sitting there chatting, talking with other people at the same time. Put yourself in a dark space where put your phone on silent, where you're not going to get interrupted, and get engrossed in the film. That's the way it needs to be watched.
Give the movie the investment it deserves.
It does, because the thing is, you will enjoy the experience.
It's an hour and a half that you won't be upset that you put an hour and a half in this movie.
And good to see us. Sally Skellington has joined us. Good to see you, Sally. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, Sally.
And I'm loving. Yes, everybody. What was this? Everybody's like, a movie that Johnny doesn't hate. NAO's at Josh Willie. Holy cow, a movie that Johnny O doesn't hate. NA, wow, Johnny O is not shitting on this movie.
Oh, don't worry. I'm saving them shits for here.
It's coming.
It's
coming. Like the big one, it's coming. In fact, he says, I can't watch this movie without NA holding my hand. This one has some moments, and if you do really give it that, give it the investment it deserves. Sit down when you watch the thing, ensure that you can focus on it, ensure you have no distractions. If you watch on a computer, definitely watch with headphones so you can get all the little juicy bits and details. But when you're watching it, definitely it's got some serious uneasy vibes in it, and the tension building throughout without using score or without using soundtrack. We don't need it. We just need these characters in this space. So beautifully fucking done. God dang, I was so impressed.
To answer Joshua Lee's question, I don't think so. I think it's a not Shudder exclusive. I think it's Hulu, and I forget what the other place is. But I know it's on Hulu. If you have Hulu, you can watch it there. I don't know if it's on. I don't think it's on Blu-ray or DVD.
One thing, Blu-ray or DVD is a kind of a thing in the past. Physical media.
Oh, shit, fuck.
It's getting there. Keith, this is what's really interesting, and just to kind of put a cap on this, is that Keith Thomas, who directed this one, and this was his like feature directorial debut. He did a previous short film called Arcane, which was not bad. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can still find that on YouTube. Arcane was pretty solid. Just a quick short, a good establishing of his abilities. And the Vigil was brilliant. But then he turned around and he directed Firestarter after this one. But he was just the director. He didn't write it or produce that one. And I could see the difference because this guy is as talented a director as he is a writer. So when you're the writer as well, and you are the director and you are producing it, you have the opportunity to exert a level of control over the vision of the film instead of having to share that and find a common ground, which I think, having watched Firestarter and this now, I see where the failing was, because Firestarter was terribly written and the studio involved because it was a very large film,
right?
Because, Blumhouse and everything like that. Not to knock Blumhouse, but it was very commercial and cheap. It didn't capture what the original did with Drew Barrymore, and George C. Scott. So in this particular one, I can see the really good stuff we're going to get out of Keith is going to be when he writes and directs, when he's got that vision, because when he writes it, he knows what he wants. When he directs it, he knows exactly what he's planned, and he's got it step by step. Now, I will say,
with DP wise on this movie, he needs to work with all.
Oh, fuck yes! Oh, hell yeah!
Just every project, the look, the lighting, because even watching the blocking on how it naturally silhouettes on shots where he's standing in front of lamps and he's standing in front of the TV, the way it hits. We talk about the negative. You have negative space in audio, and you have the negative space and the visual aspect, these dark corners, but they're not. It's just this pure blackness that's there. Yeah, whoever, I don't know what camera they shot on. I don't know who the DP was, but stick with him. He or she knows what they're doing.
Yeah. And if you do want another sample of Keith Thomas's work, you can check out Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, because he directed Pickman's Model, which was based on the Lovecraft Lovecraft story. If I remember correctly, I want to make sure I get it right. Based on Pickman's Model, based on the short story by H.P. Lovecraft. So and that was an excellent entry in that anthology. So strongly recommend that if you want to get a little bit more and see what he can do when he's adapting a horror writer under the kind of like the influence or the supervision of Guillermo del Toro.
To answer your question, Eugene, it was the Ari Alexa Mini, of course.
Of course
it was.
Yeah, the same camera they use for like Hereditary and a bunch of other stuff.
Why would you use a $500 camera when you can use a $50,000 camera?
Of course.
Joshua Lee says, you say that at Week in Horror, but what happens when you want to watch a movie and you have no internet? Physical media is still alive and well. If I have no internet, I'm dead. That's it. I will always.
I love physical media. I still collect physical media to this day. It pisses my wife off, but whatever. I don't give a shit. I love the fact that vinyls has made a resurgence. So anytime a new album comes out, I always buy the vinyl. I love physical media.
Yeah, I always have for movies I really like. I will go and I will buy them, and then I also will download them. And I have a bunch of movies on hard drives, so that way, if internet goes down, I can still go back and watch the thing.
Oh, I still have physical media in the house. I've got old VHSs that are part of my collection, and a working VCR. So if I really need to, I can go back really old school. I can be like, we're going to watch, the Alien Quadrilogy on VHS. So I've got that shit like that. But it's got to be really special to make it into my personal collection where I'll go out and physically buy the media that's available. Otherwise, I'll probably buy it and download it if I really like it. But if it's like, this is amazing, I have to own this, like Mandy. Mandy, I saw that. It was like in my personal collection, 100%, like right now. So the
Really?
minute it dropped, I got, oh, fuck yeah.
Barry Manilow? I mean, come on.
Oh, Mandy.
Don't you get the Manilow on it?
The Manilow.
That was like, man, I fucking love that one. I love this movie. I cannot give it enough praise. So before I go gushing on it, let's go ahead, Eugene.
Yep. So I want to ask the audience, what do you consider the best religion for horror? So obviously, just going into Judaism, we also have some Catholic horror and Hindu and so forth and so forth. What do you think is the best religion for horror? Let us know in the comments below or shoot us an email at weekinhorror@gmail.com.
Paganism or not Catholicism, paganism or the many different creatures of the Native Americans.
See, Native Americans got some good stuff,
Yeah.
and pagan as well, like movies like The Ritual. Like the monster in The Ritual was pretty fucking freaky, but I still got to side with Catholicism. I think, even though but there's a challenger, I'll say Catholicism, but Hasidic Judaism is really a contender now. So it's like, ooh,
yeah, but because of one movie. I mean, come on,
it's not just
one
Dybbuk's
movie.
out there. There's other stuff,
Yeah.
and it's like in Catholic movies, it's always like, well, who's possessing who now? Is the whole kind of thing.
Yeah, I
But
feel like with Catholic horror films, it's always about possession. Ever since The Exorcist, it's all about possession. Like, come on, man.
Because The Exorcist is the best one. Like everybody goes to, like there are so many possession movies, and most of them kind of but it always has The Exorcist.
Well, they utilize the devil a lot. So you have the Exorcist, and then the Omen, and then like Rosemary's Baby, and virtually everything where demons are possessing people in that respect. I really dig. I still think that some of the best ones, because the way possessions are depicted are always like when they're graphic and extreme, and body cracking, contortionism and shit like that. It's always entertaining to watch how they pull that off. Although I will say that strong contenders, and I agree with Johnny in this, Native American horror. And now Hasidic Judaic horror, Jewish horror have really ramped it up. But I love some of the demons and monsters that occur in Native American, with skinwalkers and Wendigos and
yeah, sharp elbows.
Definitely let us know in the live chat or in the comments below what you think is the best religion for horror films, provides the best horror. What your opinion is. Leave it down there in the comments below or at weekinhorror@gmail.com.
So we're going from the best shot horror movie.
We're going
to
from
the worst shot horror movie.
Like, I mean, I can't show you where we started out way up here, right, with the Vigil. Now we're gonna go so far down the basement that we almost ended up here again.
Oh, yeah.
What was it? You remind me of Moneyball, like Brad Pitt Moneyball. It's like there's the Vigil, and then there's everything else. Then there's 50 feet of crap.
Yeah.
And then there's this movie we're about to talk about right now.
Yeah.
I mean, just the disparity. Like the Vigil is something like I want to take notes in. And like, man, I will go back and maybe try to recreate some of those shots and just to see how that plays out. To this thing that hurt my eyes.
The Vigil is definitely what to do. And this one is definitely what not to do. And what we're talking about is The Legend of Bloody Jack, released February 27th, 2007. But fortunately, there is no trailer for this movie. So we don't have a trailer to watch. The only thing that was available on this movie was the whole film on YouTube. So you can watch it free. I've linked it in the Discord if you want to sit down and watch this movie. It's completely free to watch. It's on YouTube. So yeah, watch it at your own risk. And I think there was like a visual effects reel, kind of like a behind the scenes showing the visual effects of the movie, but there was no trailer. So we don't have to deal with that, which makes me actually quite happy. But to break this one down, oh, dang it, I lost it. No, I didn't lose it, because I think I accidentally closed that window. But
did you accidentally close the window? Or
you probably did. But the Legend of Bloody Jack, written and directed by Todd Portugal, and starring Craig Bonacorsi, Erica Curtis, Jonathan Kowalski, a number of other people you haven't heard of, and probably won't again. The film follows a group of friends who are going out to a cabin this sounds so much like Evil Dead, who are going out to a cabin to spend the weekend and then, run afoul of the ghost of an occult lumberjack who proceeds to, murder them all in gruesome ways. I assume it's gruesome because we couldn't fucking see anything in the damn movie.
I'm going to show, well, I wish I could show everybody what this movie looked like. So imagine now that, damn it, I can't do it. Hang on a second. Let me see if
you can't imagine it. Darkness.
Wait.
Darkness. You can imagine.
Darkness. No parent.
No, that's not what I wanted. Where is it? Okay. Wait, I'm going to show you what it is. You ready? Hang on. Hang on. Even that was too much.
Johnny was playing with the stuff.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's not just a matter of
turn out all the lights in your house, close your eyes. There you go.
That's about it. That's about as much because honestly, it really made me think. It's like, I've seen cheap movies before, and I've seen movies that are deliberately dark in order to hide their terrible special effects, especially if they have a terrible looking, practical monster. Yeah. But in this one, there is no practical monster. It's just a slasher film. The guy's running around and doing his thing, like murdering people with axes, with an axe and shit. And there was legit, you couldn't see shit in this thing. Now, I was telling Eugene about this. The whole point of it is that the film is set in Alaska during the time when the sun is at its lowest, and it goes to appear like the time of the year when the sun doesn't set. Darkness, yeah. So the idea is to they're running around again, running away from the slasher, and it's supposed to be like twilight outside. Because during that time period, the sun gets low and it looks like this kind of like twilight atmospheric effect. Yeah. And so that's why the lighting is low. The problem is that you can create that in After Effects. You can create that in post.
Well,
shoot the fucking thing in light.
You don't need an After Effects, right? It's here's a tip for all you budding filmmakers out there. You can always take away light. You can never add light. You could never add.
They could have shot this thing well lit and then in post created the twilight effect, so that way we would see everything, but you still have the atmospheric effect that you were going for. It's a basic fucking. It's common sense. You would think that if you're going to do a slasher film, that there's two things you want to show: your killer has to be impressive, and the kills at least have to be impressive. And we couldn't see shit off most of them.
You have people dying, and I don't even know who. Just like literally, that's how poorly it's exposed, because then it's dark and it's underexposed in broad daylight.
Well, but here's what's fucking wild.
That's what I'm saying.
Here's what's wild. A lot of their B-roll was well shot. There was a lot of B-roll in it. I was like, well, this B-roll is lit fantastically. Okay, and then they did this one B-roll shot of the moon. That's like, the camera's going like, it was like, come on, dude, you've not heard of a fucking tripod. Give me a goddamn break. Going out there and hand holding
balance your shit or something.
Balance your stuff. It's like he's going out there with a handheld camcorder, like shooting his B-roll. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? But the B-roll looked better than the fucking film. I was like, what the shit, man?
I just don't understand. I don't get it. I don't understand.
I don't. And there's even a moment where he was recording something with his camera, and like he was recording himself, and then it switched to something. Like he recorded himself and then he played it back, and somehow a clip got inserted in the middle. It's like, oh, they pranked me. I'm like, that's not how cameras work.
dude, when he was recording himself, when she was recording herself on the camcorder and she's going back and reviewing the footage on the camcorder looked better than the footage in the fucking film.
the footage of her watching it.
It's like, what the fuck? It's like, I don't know who lit this thing. I don't know who the technical. I understand that it was cheap and it was done. I mean, but yeah, this is definitely an example of
says, in all fairness, YouTube compression makes everything darker. It was better on Tubi. I watched it on Tubi. It was garbage.
It's still dark as absolute fuck.
How do you I don't understand how you fuck lighting up outside that way.
Well, at least
I can understand.
At least the characters told us what happened. So it was like, we're like looking at it, was like, what the fuck happened? And then the character tells us, oh, thank you so much. I don't need to go back and rewatch it to try and discern.
If they knew. If they
It's
knew.
like, thank you so much,
it.
characters, for catching me up. I really do appreciate that.
What was going on?
Here's the fucking twisted thing of this, and this is funny because Joshua Lee makes a comment: is this Velma levels of bad? Not in the same way, but there is weirdly enough, I got the sense, and that's why I felt like at the end of the movie, I felt like I was being fucking trolled. I felt like I got trolled with this film, and that was because at the end of the movie, and I'm about to spoil it here. Essentially, the setup is the kids are running. There's
2007, and nobody's gonna fucking watch this thing anyway.
There's a couple of murders in the woods, right? The lumberjack comes and kills these kids, right? And then the new kids, like the primary characters, show up, and then they're getting the warning from the harbinger. Oh, there's kills out here, blah blah blah. So then at one point, they're sitting down, relaxing, and one of the members is the nerd who knows all the horror rules. He's the Jamie Kennedy of the group.
Yeah.
And he starts telling them, hey, this is how horror movies start. We ought to be careful. There was a murder in the woods, and we're coming out here in the middle of nowhere. We got to be careful. Then the movie proceeds. But then we find out at the end, after all is said and done, that everything we just watched was the nerd recounting to the group that was what was going to happen to them if they went out to the cabin. So all of it was in his head. All of it was like, and it just describing a horror movie is basically what he was doing. It's like, that's how he's going to kill us all. And they're like, and all his friends are like, bullshit, this is blah, 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 like this. And then the killer comes out and just fucking massacres them all. Like, whap, 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 and they all fucking die, and then the movie's over.
See,
that's it.
When I saw the ending, I was like, you had a second chance to kill everybody so I can see. And they did get it like a second time. The second time. 2 times.
You fucked me over twice. It's like, oh, wait, it's not over. He's actually going to kill them this time. And I still can't see anything. But at least we didn't have shit like, the force shoot of the flare gun into the gas tank. He was staying on target and some shit. It's like, wow, and it's like, pew, like into the fucking gas tank. The fucking thing curved into it like he was Luke fucking Skywalker.
Use the force. Fuck.
That car explosion was the car explosion in Velocipaster, where it just had text flashing on the screen, was a better explosion than this movie.
The explosion in Amityville Death House was better than this one.
Hang on a second. So I brought this up a couple of weeks ago, talking about some movies that I've seen with just really bad special effects, like really bad. There was a new Jerry Butler film that came out, I think 2022 ish, where he plays a guy who has to find his wife because his wife gets kidnapped and he's got it, whatever. And they have one explosion, and it looks like dog shit. It is fucking terrible. And this is a Jared Butler film. This is they got not a whole lot of money behind it, but they have enough money behind it they could just fucking spend some. So they didn't do it practically. It was all done in After Effects, or all done in a program like After Effects. And when I say this is dog shit, it's like it went Looney Tunes cartoon.
It's so bad. So it's like if they're gonna like blow up the plane and then the explosion occurs, but the explosion burns the screen, but you can still see the plane intact behind the explosion as it's filling the screen. It's like they made it fucking. It's like the explosion was opaque. They didn't fix the opacity of it, so it's just like boom. Like wait, the plane's still there. So once again, and then they cut to the plane destroyed.
I feel like I do a better job adding in explosions than it's just God. Oh.
That was this one was fucked up, and I felt like at the end I was being trolled because I was like, really? You I think I got the sense that the filmmakers recognized that this film was crap. It was shot for crap. It was absolutely ridiculous and just a waste of fucking time. And so they turned around and tried to salvage it with kind of like this meta ending where it's like, oh yeah, that's how it's going to happen. It's like, no, it's not going to happen. And then it doesn't happen that way. Then they all get axed and they all fucking die. But too little too late on this one. It was absolutely too little too late in the third act. You cannot salvage this piece of shit. You had the opportunity to make it awesome with at least some good visible kills. But, everything in this was just, it's beyond cheap. This is Not as about as cheaply done as Amityville Death House, that we talked about the previous week. It's just not great at all, and it was wild. Like you said, they had an opportunity to kind of redeem themselves at the end, and totally dropped the ball.
And they said, "Fuck it, we're not going to do that shit." Now this is an asylum film.
Yes. Even by asylum standards, it's fucking bad. At least when the CGI alligator is attacking the Marines who are not dressed appropriately, at least we can see the fucking thing.
Right.
It's like, that's not a military uniform at all. You bought that at the Army Navy store, motherfucker.
You bought that at fucking Cabela's because you wanted to go deer hunting.
Yeah, when I'm watching Navy SEALs
Cabela's military.
When I'm watching Navy SEALs versus zombies, and the Navy SEAls are overweight and out of breath running upstairs. Right.
Yeah. Or when I watched the new Steven Seagal film and he does all this fighting from a fucking chair.
Sitting in a chair. Hey, Paracord Princess, good to see you. Vera Lucia Campos, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. This was just absolutely beyond terrible. But I did have to ask. I did want to ask the audience. The one thing that you kind of have, the one common denominator you have with this film and many, many other horror films is the fact that it's a horror film set in the woods. And horror films set in the woods is generally typically kind of a perfect template. Is that the woods get dark and they get scary, and there's animals out there, and you people know the woods better than you. You can easily get lost. You can get killed by slashers or ghosts in some cases, or bears on cocaine. But the reality is, in the woods horror,
that movie.
The woods horror is some of the best stuff. It can provide some of the best stuff out there. So, what, in your opinion, is the best in the woods horror, or the horror film that takes place in the woods, in the forest, wherever it might be? Let us know down in the comments below, or of course at weekinhorror@gmail.com, and here in the live chat what you think the best in the woods horror is.
I said the Vavitch.
The Vavitch?
The Vavitch is good.
Ooh, Sarcasm brings up Shrooms. Shrooms was fucking good.
I like Shrooms. We got. Well, that's a soundbite for me.
I like Shrooms.
I like Shrooms.
And then I read Gavlar's Seagal needs a stunt double to sit in that fucking chair.
Let's see what we got here. Aaron Reese says, "I'm a horror story in the woods." And then Denova 20 says, "The Ritual." Excellent. Yeah, definitely. Angel Rivera brings up Cabin in the Woods. Fantastic. Factory brings up The Cabin. And then Vera Lucia Campos brings up Grizzly. Awesome. And Annie brings up Does Friday the 13th count?
Yes,
it does.
Yeah.
It absolutely does.
But only the first one.
I'd agree. Yeah. Yeah. And then let me see who else we got. Oh, Travis Brown, The Blair Witch Project. Fucking A. And Gavlar Hamzad brings up Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yes.
That's the winner.
Yes.
Tucker
There's
Dale
so many
versus
dead
Evil.
college kids.
They just came out and started killing each other.
Sheriff, we have had us a doozy of a day.
Oh, man.
Just Alan Tudyk just trying to explain it away. He's just like,
He said they're cracking the legs.
When he chainsaws into the goddamn hornet nest.
Yeah.
My face is so hot. Oh, so good. Oh, man.
You're part hillbilly too.
You want a killer hillbilly? I'll give you a goddamn killer hillbilly. Denova 28 says Wrong Turn was a good one. Yep, Wrong Turn.
I like the first Wrong Turn.
Only because Eliza Dushku's in it. That's the only reason why it's good.
Yeah, good enough for me.
Yeah.
You know what else is a good one? Surviving the Game.
Oh, you're talking about with Rutger Hauer.
Rutger Hauer. Rutger Hauer, John C. McGinley.
How about Deliverance?
Oh, Deliverance is good as well. Absolutely.
No. Yeah.
I got to watch Surviving the Game again, because that was Rutger Hauer, Charles S. Dutton, Gary Busey, John C. McGinley, fucking Ice-T. I mean, just an awesome, F. Murray Abraham. What a fantastic fucking movie. But that was a good.
You had me at Gary Busey, so
yes,
yeah.
Gary Busey is so fucking amazing in that movie. When he gets up, he's just like, he's got the knife in his hands. He's like, "Fuck this, we're going barehanded." It's like, oh shit.
Gary Busey is. I mean, I know he's had some recent allegations come up about it, but he's a treasure. He's a national treasure. He needs to be.
Ooh, Cabin Fever. Because Aaron Reese just brought up the leg shaving scene in Wrong Turn is gnarly as hell. And I was just thinking of Cabin Fever when they're all infected with the flesh-eating virus.
Yeah, but why would you would like go one time? Why would you continue? What fucking person's like, hey, I wonder if this is going to happen again? It did. It did happen again. Let's keep going. Stupid. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of what's his name. Who's the director? Gosh, Eli Roth. I don't like him.
Eli Roth.
I don't like his style. I don't like. He's a good actor.
Okay, Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah. Oh,
he was
great
pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah. The Bear Jew. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, he's a good actor, but I just don't particularly care for his horror style. He's.
Werner, we're delighted to hear you say that because seeing Donnie beat Nazi death is about as close as we get to the movies these days. I fucking love that scene. Oh, amazing. All right, Johnny, take us to our third one.
Okay, so this one is not terrible. 2/3, yeah, 2/3 of it is terrible, but the last we'll see. So we're talking about the 1981 shot 1979 film called The Demon. Do we have a trailer for this one?
We do.
Let's watch that shit.
Oh yeah. This fucker got the Jaws music.
Emily.
Yeah, he does. He's got the Jaws meets like 007 music.
Get up, bitch.
What we're dealing with here is an aberration of the species. Something hallucinating, evil. Terrible evil.
You will find him.
It's so refreshing to be able to see what's going on.
Yeah,
I'd be better if I didn't.
Some guy seems to be following me around. I spotted him a couple times outside of school. I keep hearing things in the house or thinking I hear things. Bobby? Bobby, this isn't funny. Some freak's been on the telephone tonight.
Rest in peace, Richard
The
Belzer.
time of the demon, our demon, is drawing close. He's less than a man, and more than a man. Much more.
And it just like that.
Just like that.
Well, it's enough of that trailer.
The trailer was over. The Demon, also known as Midnight Callers, 1981 South African slasher film starring Cameron Mitchell and Jennifer Holmes, directed by Percival Rubens. There's a lot of other people in there too, like Craig Gardner, Zoli, Markey, all kinds of shit. Basically, a 14-year-old Emily Parker is kidnapped from a rural home and murdered by a faceless, heavy-breathing maniac with black leather, razor blade-tipped gloves. Later, the maniac hitchhikes to the city with a gregarious truck driver, and then because the gregarious truck driver was kind to give him a ride, he fucking kills him too. Just not a nice person, not a nice demon. Okay, and as you can see in the trailer, and as Eugene would say, shit does get real. Mm-hmm. This is one of those movies that the setup takes a little longer than I would like to get to the pay. I wish we would have gotten to the pay because the third act is so much better than the entire movie.
Right. I would say, and while it's not bad,
it's not terrible.
And there were a couple of inspired moments. One thing that I found really, really interesting, even though the first two acts kind of plod, it's just a kind of a slow burn.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, with that slow burn, you really don't get the growing tension that typically you would expect. You just kind of get this slow burn, then all of a sudden this amazing climax, which I thought was just brilliant.
That's one of the things I didn't like about the first two acts of the film is that it was just boring. I'm like, okay, come on.
It does. But it was wild, and it's kind of a red herring because this is one of the things that surprised me is because you saw people in the live chat, you saw in the trailer how much they built that guy up, the investigator. You're going to find my daughter. You're going to find this guy. He's an aberration of man. It's like he's going to be like the protagonist who's going to take on this villain,
right?
And no, He doesn't. It's like halfway through the film, like in the second act, he's like, yo, the girl is dead, and now the husband is dead, and the mother is just like, I've lost my daughter and my husband, and you haven't done anything. Pow! And she shoots a fucker in the face, and I'm like, God damn! I was like, what the shit?
That I gotta say, that was I kind of laughed at that part. Like, I can understand why she would do this.
Murders his ass. I have never seen so much potential so much time and energy be put into building a protagonist for a particular arc. And it's like, oh, we got the psychic who is going to take on a legitimate psychic as well. He's got abilities, and he's going to take on the bad guy. Nope. Pow! It's up to the final girl now.
Just straight up.
Yeah. Now, my enjoyment of the final act of this movie has nothing to do with the fact that the final girl is naked through the whole thing. What? What'd you say, Neil?
The final act in this one. Okay, so going through the film, yeah, anybody who watches one, if you did happen to watch it, I am absolutely certain that everybody picked up the influences of John Carpenter in this one.
Absolutely.
There is definite inspiration from both Black Christmas and Halloween. It's all over the place. In fact, the director even went so far as to recreate some scenes, not shot for shot, but recreated some moments that were in Halloween for this, like the three girls walking together after they leave the school, seeing the villain kind of watching them from afar. Yeah. And then, of course, all the phone call stuff that was taken from Black Christmas. And, of course, the heavy breathing on the phone, which I said a rest in peace to Richard Belzer, who was the breather in Student Bodies. So he recently passed away, unfortunately. But he was the original. So it's weird to think of him that he was that role. But yeah, you see a lot of great inspiration, the kind of international reach of Carpenter and another number of other American horror films. But the kicker on this one was in the third act, I think the perfect, 100% the perfect slasher subgenre final act. Final girl versus bad guy versus masked killer. Trapped in the house. It ranges all over the place. She is half naked through the entire day because his razor gloves, he cuts her clothes off, rips her clothes off. So she's running around with her tits out, running throughout the house. Big throwdown fight through floors. Which is fantastic. Through floors, leading up to a culminating in a Home Alone style face-off in the bathroom. I was like, this is fucking amazing. But then you're sitting there thinking about it, it's like, no wonder Wes Craven got his ideas from. The final girl trapped in the house.
It's tough.
Throwing down with the razor-handed bad guy who Home Alones this motherfucker.
Yeah. It's hard to look at Nightmare on Elm Street and think,
because this film, Demon, was shot in 1979. It released in 79, in its native South Africa, but didn't make it to the States until 1981. But Nightmare on Elm Street didn't release until 1982. So, given that there would be awareness, Wes Craven working in the industry
I don't know.
I think he would be. There's way too much.
Whereas I generally tend to agree that. I think that, but it's possible. It's possible he had, because thinking about it, had it been like 2021 and 2023, like fuck yeah, they knew, because internet being what it is, information travels so much faster. But this is 79 to 82. We didn't exactly have the same kind of information exchange.
Oh no, Nightmare came out in 84.
I'm sorry, 84.
84. Yeah, sorry, 1984. I was thinking 82 for some reason, but 1984. So you've got 81.
It's definitely possible.
I definitely think there's some inspiration here. I think
sure. I would say I would tend to agree that Wes Craven at least took a cursory glance and be it cribbing, because everybody talks about joke thieves, right? Well, you did that on purpose. And I never remember you telling the joke. Well, you were there when I did it. Oh, I just forgot. That kind of shit happened. Or he just said, hey, I like that idea. Let's use it.
Pretty much, yeah. It's because the thing is he's going to search for these type of movies and then draw influences and make his own.
Right. That's a question I want to know, Sarcasm. Why do they always run up the stairs?
It's always some big-breasted bimbo who's running up the stairs. It should be running out the front door. It's insulting.
Because of plot. That's why.
Yeah.
Because the movie has to happen, as Ryan George would so eloquently put. Go ahead.
No, I was thinking of the one commercial. Let's go hide behind the chainsaws. Why don't we get in an already running car?
When the killer lifts his mask up, it's like, oh, God. But I dug this one. If you can sit through, if you can make it through the like the first 2 acts. So the first 2 acts are kind of plotting. Nothing really huge happens. You do get some interesting kills. I'm very curious how this particular killer managed the logistics of holding someone down with his razor gloves and then carrying around a roll of saran wrap so he could wrap their faces up at the same time, yet have his... I'm not sure how he pulled it off. It was very impressive. The logistics of his kills.
You ever seen
he was
Naked Gun?
There was some really... It was kind of like, okay, he's in the car and we don't see... like he gets in the car with the truck driver. It's like, okay, so he's in with the truck driver, and he's like, oh, the truck driver's gonna die. He's like, okay, great. Then he grabs the truck driver with his clawed hand. I'm like, oh, he's gonna get it. Then all of a sudden the saran wrap comes out. Where did you get that? Reaching across to the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? The logistics of his skills are pretty impressive. But stick with this one. You can see all the cool Carpenter inspirations. The way they shoot the bad guy, constantly keeping him in darkness, kind of, going off of the shape idea that Carpenter went with, the fact that he's wearing a mask that obscures his image, and then, of course, but stick with it until the final act, because the final act is brutal and it's amazing, and the final girl just absolutely kicks ass. When she pulls out those kitchen shears, I was like, fucking A.
Fun fact, speaking of Carpenter and Halloween, did you know that Halloween was the first film to use Steadicam?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. Because it was so new, they didn't have to fucking pay for it. Panasonic was like, use it, please.
and the thing is, John Carpenter knew he needed to open up with something cinematic. That's why I said opening shot from the bedroom at the top, and it goes down the stairs out the house all the way, because Halloween is a cheap, low budget movie. So we can cut corners here and there, but if we start off with something cinematic, people will believe that it has high production value.
And the thing that gets credited as a oneer in the opening scene is not a oneer at all. There's a cut point that happens when he puts the mask on. It's right there. Yeah. But because they did it so well, it still looks seamless and it looks like a oneer.
Gavlo, the Hand of Zod, says, razor hands and saran wrap, the perfect partnership. That's right. You can wrap him up and be like,
yeah, there we go. Yeah. That's why he's got the razor hands. Not to kill people.
Not to kill people. Because he doesn't actually like kill. You don't really see him like murder anybody.
Yeah.
He does a lot of clothes.
Like,
he does a lot of clothes shredding. Shredding their clothes to get it off. But I'm thinking, well, I need something to like cut that. I can't be like, when I'm killing somebody.
And now,
razors.
It's
like, perfect. This is fantastic.
This is a practical use of my glove, not because I don't like slash people's faces, which would make sense. I don't like jam it in their guts, which I could lose one of my finger knives, so I don't want to do that. But it's for the saran wrap. I'm telling you,
for the saran wrap. That's what it's for. Rodell name says that serrated edge of saran wrap boxes are deadly.
That ain't no fucking lie.
I would love to see a kill in a horror film with that. The saran wrap cutter.
That's some Evil Dead shit right there. Grab them and be like, ha ha. Because we've all hit our hands on those fucking things. And you're just like, oh, that's gonna sting like a bitch. So definitely an intriguing one. I honestly consider this to have probably I consider this a perfect third act for a slasher film, especially at this point in the genre as far as the subgenre goes. I think that he nailed it, and it was weird because this particular director, Percival Rubens, wasn't known for these types of films. So, but it showed he really knew how to handle it, and he knew how to throw the audience for a loop, and he knew what works. He pulled from Carpenter. Sure. He's like, we're going to utilize what works, and and it was South Africa. Many people there may not have seen Halloween and seen the inspiration, so he tapped his market. And he delivered probably one of the greatest third acts I've ever seen in a slasher film. Every element, every slasher subgenre trope is there. Is like everything is present, and I loved how she threw down with the use. And it was funny because we were watching it, and Angela pointed out that the hose that she uses, the sprayer that's attached to the sink, is an old school deal that they used to install in bathrooms so that women could wash their hair without having to take a shower.
Yeah.
And so she uses that and then ties it to the, I guess, the toilet paper dispenser. And that's by the toilet, ties it and then turns it on so it's spraying water, and then puts soap all over the floor. So I was like, oh, she's gonna Home Alone this motherfucker, and it's gonna be great. She's got the shower open, so she's gonna go right in the bathroom. This is gonna be awesome.
It's a proto Macaulay Culkin.
Oh yeah, that's how you do it. Home Alone, the bad guy is always fantastic.
Well, speaking of final girls, what I want to know, I'm going to ask the audience, who do you consider the best slasher final girl? Let us know at weekinhorror@gmail.com in the side chat or the comments down below. I got to go with Laurie Strode on this one because she managed to go through 4 different timelines and only die once.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, the correct answer is Ellen Ripley from the first Alien.
No, she died twice.
But
2 times.
But you're gonna talk about alien slasher in space, the way she handles it. She takes care of a xenomorph. Done.
So you're gonna go. So Eugene's got Ellen Ripley. So Eugene's got Ripley, and you've got Lori.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to go with Nancy.
I knew you were gonna say
she never died.
Yes, she did.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
Not in continuity, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
She died.
didn't
Yeah,
die at
she
the end
did
of-
die. She died in the
in Dream Warriors.
Dream
Did she
Warriors.
die? That wasn't confirmed.
Yes, it was. She dies in Dream Warriors. Ooh, JL, you're gonna Google me and you're gonna be like, "Damn it, Johnny, I fucking hate you."
Yeah, she does. She dies in Dream Warriors.
Well, she only dies once, so she's tied. But still,
Well, I mean, so you could make the argument that she dies at the end of the first one, but then she shows up in number 3, so we know it doesn't happen. That was just
he basically retcons the end of the first
I'm
one.
gonna retcons the end.
Well, no, didn't retcon the end. He so the first ending was Mama's dream. That was her nightmare. So
Right. Okay. Well, I will say this. And it's interesting that you didn't bring it up because you brought up Lori, and I'm gonna say Nancy, because Nancy was the first one who straight up legit took the fight to the bad guy. He's like, oh, we're gonna throw down. Like, I'm gonna physically fight the slasher in my house, and we're gonna do this. It was like, really? He's like, you're gonna take on? He's like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna take on the serial killer. I'm gonna fucking Home Alone his ass. But I'm kind of surprised that you didn't mention Kirsty Cotton.
So Kirsty Cotton is definitely on my list because not only does she survive all of it, when she does decide to go out, she goes out as the lead Cenobite. She's like, fuck this shit. Not only am I going to survive this motherfucker, I'm going to take over this bitch's job.
You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Yep. Yes.
Ooh, Genova 28 says Sidney Prescott. Sidney Prescott, but Sidney Prescott, who has never died, and of course has killed multiple ghost faces.
I don't know why people keep trying to kill her at this point. Like, I don't know why.
Just stop running into the brick wall named Sidney Prescott, because you keep running into this, and I know it took 5 to eventually get Dewey, but if it takes 5 to get Dewey, and he was a cop with training, and I don't know how long it's going to take to get Gale. How many movies do you think it's going to take to get fucking Sydney? He's like, give me a fucking break, man.
So
Just stop.
They didn't hire her for the next one. She wasn't hired for the next one. She wasn't hired for 6. That's how.
Okay. I actually think it's a bit of a conspiracy. I think Sydney's going to be in the next one.
Here's the thing that's tough to keep under wraps.
I don't know.
She'll be in their archive.
Marvel is just as good about pulling that shit off and hiding stuff from the public until the release date. I think Sydney will be a part of the story, and I think Sydney's character, Sidney Prescott, will be a part of the story, and I think she will be in it.
As long as they bring in Doofy, I'll be okay.
But one thing I want them to do, and I wish they would, because this is total fan theory like this. The fan theory is that Stu Macher did not die that night in the first film.
That's just a bunch of people who want Matthew Lillard.
They want Matthew Lillard back.
And I can understand that. I can understand that because Matthew Lillard is he was great in the first one. I'm not a huge Scream fan, but his character was great. He's an actor that goes for it. He fucking head first right into the role. He's going to he won't leave anything on the table. He'll make sure that if I'm doing this, whatever that fucking role is, if I'm doing it, it's everything. It's all or nothing, and I can appreciate that.
So I hope so. And it would be cool to see Matthew Lillard come up, face all fucked up from the TV, like all scarred up and shit from having the TV smashed on him. And then, of course, he's like in an insane asylum or something like, or wherever. And then he was like the mastermind behind the cult that's operating in New York.
Yeah.
I think that would be really fucking cool. Just my thoughts. I wish it were true. It's probably not, but Genova said I made poopy. It was good. And it says, what if Sydney snaps and she's the one behind it? It's like, that would be a cop out in my personal opinion.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
And what was it?
I'm just wondering when that was going to happen in space. Like Sidney Prescott's going to be somehow an astronaut.
And then Galar, the Hand of Zod, brings up Alice. And I'm assuming you mean Alice from Resident Evil. So Mila Jovovich's character through 7 Resident Evil films.
They were all garbage.
They weren't all garbage.
They were all garbage.
No, I like the first 2. I like the first 2.
The first 2 were good.
Garbage.
Yeah. First 2, it goes pretty down. Yeah, it's good. The last one was trash, though.
That's
yeah, like I mean, it
it's like a dirty diaper garbage. The last one.
Yeah. I'll also bring up Tree from Happy Death Day.
Oh, Tree from Happy Death Day. Fuck yeah.
She's a great final girl. And then the girl from You're Next.
Oh yes.
I can't remember her name. Yeah.
I really hope we get a third one for Happy Death Day. I really, really do. They said that the hopes are kind of dimming because Universal hasn't greenlit it yet because Happy Death Day 2U didn't perform as well as the first one did. In my opinion, it's because it took a more of a sci-fi slant than a slasher slant, which may have been why it underperformed. But the third one is supposed to bring the slasher element really up. Now that they've established the sci-fi angle, they want to dive back into the slasher stuff. And the director's like, he's got it in his head. He knows what he wants. He's ready to go. It's going to be huge. But the problem is to pull off it'll be a trilogy. So it'll be the conclusion. To pull it off, he needs more money than the second film, and Universal has not greenlit him yet. So maybe, hopefully,
I'll definitely watch it.
All right, Eugene. We've been procrastinating to stay off of it because I know we didn't want to talk about it.
We did this whole episode wrong. We should have started with this piece of shit film and then ended with the Vigil. That's all I'm saying.
The format is to put them in order.
I don't give a good goddamn. Okay. And you say that, yet we start out 2021. Yes, I know it goes by the month.
Week goes by the week.
The week and the month, but I don't fucking care. We could have done it in reverse. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Look at Eugene. He's self-soothing. Come on. You got him.
It's so painful.
So finally we have The Burning Dead, which was released March 3rd, 2015.
Dude, tell him what the alternate title was.
There's an alternate title?
Yes. Fucking volcano zombies.
They should have just called it Volcano Zombies. Fuck the
Honestly, they just should have called it Volcano Zombies. I mean, they just that's a better title.
Let's watch this bad boy. Oh, I feel so bad for what they're about to see, and then just like the start of this. Here we go.
Are you ready for a tale? A tale as old as the hills themselves.
Girls, let's get off this mountain. Devil's Peak don't wait for nobody.
We have this naked.
And the mountain destroyed what it wished, with no mercy.
Damn. You say lava.
Because fucking why not?
The souls of the dead glowed red, like lava, waiting to return to the living.
Oh my god.
a super eruption. The next blast will be catastrophic.
Good, Sheriff. You gotta move people 20 miles out, okay? The blast zone is now 20 miles. Get to the corners in order!
Danny Trejo would do anything for a fucking dollar.
That man is a fucking mercenary.
Man, he highest bidder. That's
Lowest bidder. Come on, they couldn't have paid him more than a 6-pack and a fucking Snickers bar for this movie.
He must have been bored that weekend.
He must have been like, you know what? I got to take a shit. So let's do this movie.
Yeah, let's do this.
Casey Cooper says, "When's the bad part?" It's amazing. And Angel Rivera brings up Sci-Fi Channel CGI, which you're not wrong because this was a sci-fi original.
All right. So you got directed by Renee Perez and starring Tom Downey, Monique Plante, Danny Trejo, and then just other people. And I mean, it just explains it in the trailer. A volcano goes off and there's zombies and lava.
And they spit
That's
lava.
it.
They spit lava because they're zombies that
So
somehow there's like this green shit that comes out of the fucking volcano for God knows why. I have no idea because plot.
Evil spirits. They're evil spirits. The evil spirit in the volcano. And then when the volcano erupted, it resurrected all the dead. But I don't know why it was resurrecting all these dead people from the long past, and they're all wearing modern clothes. So I'm not 100% sure why that is.
Because why not?
Listen, when you get smoked by a meteor, it's your time.
It's true. So Denova Toy says Danny just needed a paycheck. Danny is notorious. Danny Trejo is notorious that if you pay him, he will work. He does not care what the project is. He doesn't care what is entailed of him, and he doesn't care what he like. It doesn't matter if we because he's playing a Native American named Nightwolf in this, and it's so not a Native American. It's dressed like one, but he's obviously
like it's the costume shop Native.
Yeah, it's the costume shop kind of
the
like
party city,
the Spirit Halloween Native American package that they bought for him, and but he'll do whatever for a paycheck. Someone put a volcano on an Indian burial ground. Angel Rivera says, "Evil spirits and volcano. Is this a Scientology historical piece?" It just
exactly
might be.
Thinking,
Fucking might be. Yes, and that was Paracord Princess. That was Danny Trejo in that one, who is kind of like Danny Trejo is the framing narrative of the film. He's relaying the story to his grandkids and telling them about these volcano zombies or whatever. We don't get an explanation as to where the zombies really come from. Just know that the evil spirits in the volcano, when it erupts, resurrect the dead all over the place, and then they bleed like lava. And that the lava in this is the fastest lava that's ever been recorded.
Holy shit, that fucker was moving, man!
All over the place.
Lava sprinting at
that lava had viscosity. It absolutely did. It's just like coursing, just like running through the fucking woods.
Right.
Oh. So
bolt of fucking lava.
So even for this was also an asylum film, and we got 2 asylum films in one show. That's how just
Make sure you direct all hate mail to J.L. Warren.
Right.
At weekinhorror.
Extra J says sequel: House of Volcano Cocaine Zombies in Space and in the Hood with Sharks and Tornadoes, the movie.
That's exactly.
Which is where the asylum is eventually heading.
Yeah.
Now, this is for an asylum film. For an asylum film, it's pretty much what you expect. I consider this kind of a misstep, even for an asylum film. The overlaid graphics were absolutely terrible. The goofy shit that just stands out, like of course Danny Trejo's Native American costume. And I know that Eugene absolutely loved the Army Navy bought Ranger patch that was stuck on a khaki shirt to make him look like he was a ranger. A forest ranger out there, just like play like this. I was like, wait a minute, that's an army patch that you bought from like some Army Navy sort of like, oh, he's a ranger. We need some way to dictate to tell he's a ranger. Buy this ranger patch, that'll work. Like, That's not no.
That's not how that works.
Ranger. Yeah.
Just giving out fucking like Army Ranger patches. So
Just
There's a huge difference.
Same thing. Army Ranger, Park Ranger, whatever.
But at least
Power
They both
Ranger.
go through special forces training. Yeah.
At least he got obliterated off the deal. It was like, what's that? Blam! So
funny.
there were some. There's the classic, so ridiculous, you're so stupid and so bad you have to laugh. There's some moments like that. A general goofiness all over the place. Really, really bad after effects as far as like all the gun shooting and everything. But ultimately, it's an asylum film that I think missteps a little bit more. But the big thing I want to talk about is there's nothing really amazing to dive into this one as far as production values go. It's an asylum film. It's exactly what you would expect. The big thing I wanted to think of, I wanted to kind of digress on this one, is that this film came out post Sharknado. And in my opinion, Sharknado kind of changed the landscape as far as dump seasons go for film releases and as far as low budget goes, because low budget tongue-in-cheek kind of nonsense has always been there, but no one's ever given it much credibility, right? They're just kind of like, yeah, you're always going to have your low budget kind of like knockoffs. We've seen it throughout virtually every single horror subgenre, especially through the slasher subgenre, when you get all these copies that are coming in and trying to take advantage of the popularity at the time. Now, but Sharknado comes out. And so the Asylum drops Sharknado, and then all of a sudden the landscape changes. And now, very low budget, extremely cheesy effects, poorly acted, poorly written, poorly constructed horror films that have threadbare plot lines and characterization, no depth whatsoever, one-dimensional motherfuckers all over the place, all of a sudden are kind of hot. So Sharknado changed that landscape, and now this was a part of the post-Sharknado apocalypse. Movies like this one
just showed what being goofy could do.
Yeah, well, movies like fucking Camel Spiders and Mega Croc and shit like that.
Yeah.
We're getting these films because of Sharknado.
Yeah.
My curiosity looking at this is kind of wanted to get your guys' opinion, maybe the opinion of the people in the live chat as well. In this post-Sharknado world that we live in, why was it that Sharknado was able to create this? Why are we in this deal where all of a sudden...
See, I've got this thing. Sharknado, like the first one, they were trying to be serious. They were trying to make it serious, not super serious, but they weren't really being goofy, right?
Super serious, like Super Serial.
Super Serial.
Super Serial guys.
Serial guys. No, they weren't trying to be. It wasn't. I mean, it was kind of a. They were trying to be. It wasn't as. Because you can see the progression of Sharknado as it went from the first one to what is it, 6 now?
Six. Yeah.
You can see the progression just got more and more outrageous. And they found when they put out that Sharknado, people were like, man, this movie's so terrible, you got to watch it. And everybody kept watching. And then they'd be like, you know what? Fucking hell, this actually works. Make it a super crappy movie. Let's see if we can make it worse and cash in on that. And it did. It worked. People were like, man, you got to see this movie. You guys remember when Sharknado came out? It was like, you got to see it. It's so bad. It's so bad. You got to watch it. Everybody was talking about how bad it was. You got to watch it. The same thing happened with the second one. And like, well, what are we going to do next? Now we're going to bring in Frankie Nunez for the third. We're going to make sure he gets it. Just kept going and going and going. And Sci-Fi was like, man, if we can turn out shit like this and make money, let's see what else we could do. Volcano zombies. There you go. That works.
Camel spiders,
spiders,
Sharktopus, Mega Croc versus
three-headed
shark.
Snow apocalypse.
Right.
Jason Hyde brings up B movies for B movies' sake. When they don't take themselves seriously, it can work. But that was but those films. But if you think about it, going back all the way to the 90s, even before that, especially in the 80s, going back to Hammer horror, you always had low budget rips that pretty much, were just capitalizing on what was hot at the time, what was extremely popular. And there's always going to be cash grabs. There have been cash grabs in horror films coming out from smaller studios, independent developers, going all the way back to the classic horror of Universal. So there's always been people that try to jump on it. AIE was notorious for doing that with Universal stuff, is that they would basically follow along and pick and kind of like release their own versions.
Yeah.
So, but for some reason, and I think it was because if you think about it, like in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, what was going on in the world, there was a lot of things were very, very, things geopolitically, geopolitically, and of course globally, we're very, very unstable at the time. You think about what was going on in other countries, how America was involved, what was going on with our economy at the time, what was going on concerning actions of the president. There was a lot of things that were very, very unstable, and not to mention we are still at that point when this is coming out, still climbing out of the 2008 collapse. So after the housing market blew up in 2008, that had lasting ramifications going, almost a decade after that, from 2000 to 2018. And so that was devastating. And I think that the reason Sharknado kind of reshaped the landscape of cheesy, low budget, just popcorn film was because the American people, not to mention not just the American people, the world needed, if you dug horror films, something to just sit back and just laugh your fucking ass off at.
Right.
Like something so ridiculous that you needed it. In the post-collapse of the housing market, when the whole fucking planet went bankrupt, and then all this corruption, all these things was exposed, and then here we're sitting in the aftermath, and now, everybody's on pins and needles and walking on eggshells. You got things going on with North Korea, all kinds of just terrible stuff.
Yeah.
And the war in Afghanistan, people are tired, people are frustrated, people are angry, they're disenfranchised, they need something silly. And then the Asylum comes along and delivers this fucking horror movie, or this goofy, not even really a horror film, but this movie about sharks in tornadoes.
Tornadoes, yeah.
Why the fuck
Ian
not?
Daring flying through the fucking air with a chainsaw into a shark's mouth and then cutting it down its belly and popping out and saying, ta-da!
No, the thing is it was on timing on top of not just with the housing market crash and everything like that, but you're starting to get the onset of streaming. When you had B horror and low budget horror movies have been around since the beginning of film.
Yeah, film time. Yeah,
but usually you have to
Raven Darkstar. Thanks so much, bud. Definitely stay safe. Says the winds are getting really bad where he is, shutting down for the night. Be safe out there, Raven. Thanks for popping in.
Thank you, Raven.
Go ahead.
So the thing is people who liked the bad horror films, you had to go out and seek them. You had to go to the shady VHS tapes. You had to go to those. You had to find those. And around 2010, you're starting to get the onset of streaming. So all of a sudden, you got this brand new content that's just easy to find.
Right.
It's available. And so for the first time, you're getting regular people to go, huh?
Right.
Who don't necessarily.
Not to mention, you've got 24-hour, film networks now, or just networks in general with cable television and all the, what am I, if I'm sci-fi and I'm on from, midnight to midnight, I got to fill that time with something. Long gone are the days of off air. That shit, hell, there are probably people in the side chat right now that know what the fuck I'm talking about. They don't know the rainbow screen with the beep, boop, they don't know that. But
they had the national anthem.
Yeah. At the end of the broadcast night, which is, I think it was like 1 o'clock, 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., some shit like that, all the way up to
include our regular broadcast station time, and like the jets flying and shit.
Yeah, right. And then
Casey Cooper with the test patterns.
Right. It didn't come back until 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning when you had your morning news.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it feels weird to give Asylum that kind of credit because Sharknado is not a thing that you plan for to drop at a specific time. Sharknado was a thing that popped up, and the director Anthony Ferrante just kind of like ran with what he had, and I don't think there was no big intentions with this. I think it was fortuitous, and it's weird to give the Asylum credit for delivering something that I think, especially in the lovers of this particular genre, something that we needed so bad, and why Sharknado became the phenomenon it became, why it spawned 6 fucking movies. You would think why it was, but it reshaped the landscape. It literally also breathed new life into sci-fi at the time, because sci-fi was like, what are we going to do? They're kind of plodding along. They've got their original content. They not a lot. But and then of course, there was a lot of jumping around.
There's only so many times you could fucking rerun Star Trek.
Yeah,
the original series. It only had 3 seasons. And
there was a lot of problems with NBC and a lot of rebuys with Vivendi and everything. So things were unstable at sci-fi. And then all of a sudden, you have Sharknado, and then everything is rejuvenated again, and people are laughing again. And it's weird to give the Asylum that kind of credit. But I think that's why we have what I kind of consider as a snooty and a snobby horror connoisseur, the kind of post-Sharknado apocalypse that we live in. It was like, we're going to be inundated with this because we have a need for it. And just goes to show how it follows.
It worked for sci-fi. They're like, look, we can spend $100,000 and get 10 movies. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I always believe that sci-fi missed the mark. I will always believe the execs did, because sci-fi is as big as it's ever been and as mainstream as it's ever been, and they're not the forefront of that.
Right. They really fucked up. They should have leaned hard into it, but they didn't have the money. They didn't have the funding.
They didn't have, the ownership at the time didn't understand.
Which is weird to me, because it's not like science fiction was a foreign concept. People love science fiction. I mean, it's one of the.
I remember when the Sci-Fi Channel first started, and it was SCIFI, not this SYFY thing.
Yeah,
and we're talking like back when they did they did Toonami, and they showed like anime at some point, and then they showed old school science fiction films when their old logo was the black and white planet with the rings around it, and Sci-Fi Channel. I grew up watching that. It was like a Sci-Fi Channel, fucking A, and it was everything I loved. So, but just like radio stations, when you get a new radio station and they don't play ads because they don't have everything set up, it's just music all day long.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden they start getting the sponsors in. They start getting commercials. He's like, oh, now you fucking ruined it. So it happens sometimes, but it was weird to think about it to juxtapose that as like, wow, Asylum really kind of came along and kind of salvaged it. Is like they were what we needed, both as entertainment consumers and in a kind of dark time in America's history, in the world, as people needed something goofy and silly to laugh at, to sit down and just forget for a minute the fucking onslaught of bullshit that was happening in the world. And so when people shit on the Asylum, I was sitting there rethinking. I was like, we shit on the Asylum a lot, but holy shit, dude. They were fucking there for us unintentionally.
Yeah.
It was not intentional at all. It was like unintentionally, but man, they were,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not mad at them.
Well, I like to ask the audience, because this movie does have Danny Trejo in it, and he has done a lot of movies.
172, something like that?
Something like that. What do you think is the best Trejo film? The best Danny Trejo film.
Desperado.
Best Danny Trejo film. Spy Kids. No.
No, Desperado. I'm serious. He was a bad motherfucker in that. And did you see Salma Hayek talking about the first time she met Danny Trejo on Desperado? He had just got out of prison, and he ran up to her. He was like, "Oh, check this out! I got a tattoo of you on my chest." And that's what that's supposed to be.
I did see that when he's comparing the Santa Maria, the Maria tattoo on his chest. Yeah. Ooh, Genova 28 brings Machete.
I was fixing to say Machete.
Machete don't tweet.
That movie was so over the top. It was so hilarious.
Dude, he put that goddamn minigun on the front of his motorcycle. You know it was going to be over the top.
A guy gets killed by a lowrider. Like, it bounces on him.
Yeah. Nemo 833 brings up From Dusk Till Dawn. I have to admit, From Dusk Till Dawn he was pretty badass in that. Although not really a character that he fleshed out. I like when he gets an opportunity to kind of play. I really dug, even though it was a little one-dimensional, it was done only the way Danny Trejo do. I really loved him in Predators. I thought he was solid and was just the perfect Danny Trejo, And plus, I think
because he's always he's got these smaller roles in some of these bigger films.
And his name in Predators was Cuchillo.
Cuchillo, yeah.
It's like, so your name is Knife.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's it.
That's pretty much it. Just blades. He is all. Denova 28 brings up Con Air.
He was great in Con Air.
He was good. Great.
Danny Trejo he's almost 80. You know that? He's an old fucker, and he still gets down. So
Anaconda.
He
was the opening. He was setting the stage. Danny Trejo gets eaten by a snake. Done. That's all we need. Oh fuck yeah! But definitely let us know what you think the best Trejo film, Danny Trejo film is. Doesn't have to be horror, could be anything, but down in the comments below or weekinhorror@gmail.com. Well, you know what time it is, gentlemen?
I don't know what time it is. What time is it, JL?
It's trivia time. Oh, so silly.
Yep.
All right. So, trivia time, all you amazing horror fanatics, all you weekend horror fans out there listening. Here we go. For the first person to get in the live chats to put up the correct answer to this trivia question gets a mystery item from the Weekend Horror store, direct from our Teespring. Go check it out. The link is down in the description, and you can see all the cool stuff that we've added there recently. We have all kinds of cool stuff there, cheap stuff, some really awesome stuff like the Weekend Horror hoodie, but definitely a mystery item from the Weekend Horror store for the first person to get the correct answer to this trivia question in the live chats. The trivia question tonight, flex those Google fingers, is, and listen carefully, according to Cinemorgue, as of 2021, how many times has Danny Trejo died in films alone? One more time. According to Cinemorgue, as of 2021, how many times has Danny Trejo died in films alone? The first person with the correct answer in the live chat gets a mystery prize from Week in Horror from our amazing store.
Gavlar, oh man, Gavlar and NANA are really close.
Yeah, they're
Gavlar's
close.
He's close. Gavlar, it's not 65. And NANA says 69. It's not 69, although that would be pretty fucking cool. Dr. Design says 420. Maybe one day, but
maybe.
But not nearly that many. Fred Edges says 41. Nope, not 41.
Ooh, Facty's so close.
Facty's so close. Facty's close.
Dancing around it.
I gave you all
There it is.
NANA's got it. Yes.
72.
72. Absolutely. And so congratulations, NANA. And yes, wrote in the last name. You're correct. Danny never died from a saran wrap box cutter. He never did. Or he hasn't yet.
We have to write that in. We have to contact him. Like, hey, Dan, we're not asylum.
He'll be down.
But yeah.
he'll do it. Oh, Halloween. He was good in Halloween.
He was good in Halloween because he was a nice janitor.
Yeah.
He just wanted to take care of Michael.
When he was like, Mikey, no.
Yeah,
I was your friend. I don't give a fuck. I'm fucking the giant mute. The giant mute is not your friend.
The giant mute who's been there for 20 years because he murdered his entire family.
Look at his room. That man is not your friend.
Yes.
So congratulations, NA. Well done. Yes, the answer is 72. And you can find that answer at cinemorgue.com, where they keep a running tally of all of Danny Trejo's kills. So they keep a running tally of everybody's kills in films.
Right.
And of course, second place in that list was Christopher Lee before he passed away. And then Danny surpassed him with, now he's currently at 72. But did you know that man has like I think 9 or 10 other works currently in pre-production?
Wow.
He'll do anything.
And I'm pretty sure he dies in like almost all of them.
Probably. It's a safe bet to say he dies in at least half of them based on how many times he's died previously and how many films he's got. So 50%.
Yeah.
You got a 50-50 there.
I think he'll break 100. He'll break 100.
I hope he does. I hope he breaks triple digits. I do. So, and to give everybody, I know there was some questions. Cindy Sue brought it up, and I know that Elizabeth S. also brought it up. So apparently, I've contacted Teespring. Apparently, there is some sort of delay. I have looked into like the shipping, and like virtually everybody that's waiting for stuff, they've all been printed and they've all been shipped. There is some sort of delay going on with Teespring. I have UPS tracking numbers for the vast majority of the stuff. But things going international are apparently suffering delays. We don't know what it is, and Teespring has not told me. But there are tracking numbers for a lot of these things, but they have not arrived yet. And I don't know what it is. We still have a number of things. We have a number of things that are going out. So I'm going to try and find out if there's any more information. But Teespring has not given me anything. But they're ordered. They're sent out. They just haven't arrived yet. So hopefully those will come in soon. So I don't know what's going on with the shipping wise. We may have to find another distributor.
Yeah.
Teespring seems to be dropping the ball as of late.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
May have to find another store. I don't want to have to move all this shit to another store.
Yeah, well, yeah. But you can start new. We start over. Anyway.
Yeah.
Gosh. I had fun with this one tonight.
Yeah. This is a good one.
All right, folks, and that will close out another episode of the Weekend Horror Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. We truly hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, smash those like and subscribe buttons and be sure to hit that bell so you never miss a future episode. Join us next week when we look back at the brutal outdoors survival horror, The Canyonlands, suburban horror comedy Otis, brilliant zombie horror comedy Fido, it absolutely is, and the polarizing horror film JL has raged about since we started the show, The Ninth Gate. Fucking
Finally going to talk about it, man. I've put it off as long as I can.
Yeah. 4 years. It's been 4 years. Be sure to check out Josh Olsen's store at badsamurai.store. He does all the awesome artwork you see splattered all over our merch store, which you can find over at Teespring. How long? Who knows? For more Week in Horror, make sure you check out all the bloody links in the description. Follow us on all the socials for the day's splatter, your daily horror recommendations. Join our Discord for watch parties, big announcements, and all kinds of horror shenanigans. Did you say shenanigans? I'll pistol whip the next guy that says shenanigans. And support the show through our PayPal link or through our Patreon. Join the higher tiers for early content access and behind-the-scenes fun with the crew, or even just support the show for as little as $1 a month. What are you waiting for? Join us. Join us. Join us. As always, thank you for being the greatest audience a horror film podcast could have. I'm some fat guy.
And I'm Eugene.
And he's muted.
And I'm JL.
And we'll see you next week. And as always, stay scared. Yeah.
See ya.